Welcome to 1 in 20 D&D. Hello and thank you for joining me. I'm Gregory. This is 1 in 20 D&D and welcome to another What's Your Story. Tonight my featured artist is the wonderful Angie, also known as on the social medias as banjelerp.
Thank you for having me here.
Yeah, you bet. You came recommended, as well as I guess a quick bit of our background, how we met, and before I get
Yeah.
into questions for you, is that we got the opportunity to start playing a D&D game with each other, and that's how I met you. And
hmm
as I said, it was funny because after the fact, probably like a year or more later, I realized, oh wow, I guess what? She's an artist. And I've had two or three people that I know that I play games with mention you because they like your art and they're aware of your art. Matt Bartlett, of course,
hmm
recommended you when we did his video and or his interview. So it was really fascinating to find out after the fact. And so with this, my premise is to take artists that are in the D&D and the fantasy community and give them a chance to kind of like, let's find out who this person actually is and ask this big question of like, so what's your story?
Right.
So first, if you want to just like tell everybody who you are, just take a moment like, okay, I'm
Well, I
Angie and
guess, yeah. I'm Angie. I have been an artist for ever.
awesome.
I'm mostly a stay-at-home wife. I just do my art on the side as a hobby. Sometimes it pays, sometimes it doesn't.
Cool.
So,
That's
but yeah,
awesome.
there's not much about me, to
Awesome.
be
So
honest.
I see you say forever. So meaning like you started as a little kid and
Oh
doing that,
man,
or high
like
school, or
yeah, I definitely started as a little kid because I remember in second grade, I was obsessed with the profiles of dogs and horses, and that's all I drew.
fascinating. That's
Yeah,
cool. It's really hard to do that well.
it wasn't real good, but I gave it a good shot.
Awesome. That's
But
fascinating.
yeah,
I don't. So do you go back to animals now? Because
very
yeah,
rarely.
it seems like you're mostly focused on people.
Yeah, humanoids.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll delve into animals. Like there was a piece that I did that was a bear, which is honestly the first
Cool.
realistic bear, quote unquote, I guess I'll say, that I've drawn in quite a while. Somebody else wanted a panther with their character, and I
Oh,
was like, sure,
nice.
I'll try that. But I mean, basically with animals, I just go, okay, I'm gonna grab this reference, and we'll just throw it together.
Nice. Well, so that's a great question. Let's jump right in there. I obviously I have a list of questions that I'm probably going to get to at some point,
hmm
but we'll also just follow a nice flow. So reference slash inspiration.
Right.
What's your process like?
Uh, with my own personal work, I would say that my inspiration comes from mostly other artists. I'll take the
Cool.
aesthetic from one artist and be like, I really like this aspect of it, and I like this look from this clothing style, whatever, and I'll put it together. Um, a lot of it will be modern media, some of it will be like older media from the 50s to the 1800s or older. Um, but with other people's like commissions and that kind of thing, I tend to ask them to provide references for me so I can get them the proper thing that they're looking for.
That's awesome.
So
So
if
so commissions, obviously you got to get input from the person that you're working for, right?
right,
Yeah, that's cool.
yeah.
Um, so now, all right, that's awesome. It's interesting. I always find it so. Let's say you just said you did a bear, right?
Yeah.
So like, so do you go to like a nature picture or something like that of an actual bear? Is that and use
Oh
that, or
yeah,
do you
that's
mostly use like memory images?
um if it's an animal that I've drawn before, chances are I'll probably use memory. I've got one friend who has drawn horses all the time. Like that is her main subject. And because of being friends with her and seeing her process, I'm fairly decent with drawing horses. But when it's a new animal like a bear or a panther or something like that, I will basically have my reference up and draw from the reference.
Nice.
And if something gets confusing, I will trace over it just so I understand how the form works.
Cool.
But then I won't take that tracing, I'll just redraw it.
Cool, cool. Yeah, so all right, I'm gonna date myself a little bit here. I am a far older person than most might think, and back in the day, it used to be that an artist would use a tracing a light board,
Yeah.
right? So
I
so
actually
that
had
was
one
like
of those when I was a kid.
yeah, so like that's how it worked for years. I mean, many years. If you needed to take an image that you wanted to, like you just said, you kind of want to learn the lines, or maybe you want to do like duplicates of something. You try
Yes.
something, you don't really like it. You're like, okay, but I need that basic form, and I want to keep that basic form. You
Or if you want to
use
clean it up,
yeah,
even.
exactly. People
Yeah.
would use a light board. And so when I first started seeing things like Photoshop and these great programs that are available now, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, it's a digital light board. How cool is it?" They're like, "Layers. Yes, this is awesome." So, and I was watching some of your stream, your Twitch stream, which is cool. And
Hmm.
by the way, I probably mentioned this if I didn't, this banjelerp, so check out banjelerp on
Yeah.
Twitch and
Banjelerp
Twitter,
everywhere.
right? And I'll show some ArtStation stuff of your beautiful work in a moment too. One of the things that really caught my eye right away when I was watching your stream was how how quickly you move through, or it seems to me anyway. I'm not a pro for sure with digital stuff. Uh, it seems like you move pretty quickly through the layers, and that was just my quick perspective. Like you do a very I don't want to say general shape,
Like
and
a
then
wireframe.
almost, and then it felt like to me like you went right into like detail work. Like
Oh.
you did a very quick, like, okay, here's here's the head, here's the body, and then it was like that was it. Then you kind of like you almost go right into your line work, which is kind of neat. I've seen like other artists I've seen, they'll do like many more layers.
Yeah.
Like they do the base. Like this is kind of when I was doing comic book art with pen and paper, pencil and paper. I would do just like you sort of do. You do the sort of the bubble head and that
Hmm.
kind of thing, and then you start to fill in and feel out the shape a little bit more.
Hmm.
Maybe let's call that layer two. Then you might start going into the stronger lines and then the like inks or whatever. And it maybe I'm wrong, so correct me please if that's the case. It didn't seem like you do that. It felt like
So
you go right to the line work
I
almost.
probably should do that a little more just to feel out the spatial awareness, I guess, of the characters that I draw.
Uh huh.
But for the most part, with the very first layer,
Uh
I
huh.
tried to get the shape and the general pose of what I'm looking for, and then over top of that, I don't actually do lines right on top of it. I
Uh huh.
do a sketch, but my sketches are pretty
Sketch.
clean.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Your sketch. Well, that's
Yeah,
what it is. Okay,
yeah,
perfect. Yeah, thank you for. That's what I was seeing. Is your sketching is super clean. That's what it
yeah.
is.
I just for some reason I can't get into the messy sketching just because it becomes too much for me.
Oh,
If I
cool.
have too messy of a sketch, I can't get the idea, the form that I was looking for in the first place. I
Mm,
usually have an idea and go for it. Um,
I like that.
but as far as like how many layers I use, you'd be surprised how many layers I actually
Oh,
use.
yeah, I can imagine. Well, another really cool technique that it seemed like you had is I noticed in the one or two videos that I was watching, you're like resizing and manipulating body
Oh yeah,
parts, and I'm like, oh my god, I didn't
yeah,
realize you could do that. Like how cool! I don't know.
yeah.
It totally blew my mind. It really
And
did.
I think that's the advantage for me for digital versus traditional because I still do draw traditionally sometimes,
Nice.
but I get so used to the undo shortcut that when I'm drawing, I'm like, oh, I can't undo it. I have to actually erase it. Ugh. Um, but with the warping and the manipulating of the lines, it helps me to really get the anatomy right. And even sometimes that doesn't work, but it
Yeah.
makes it look better to my eyes.
Nice.
And that way I'm not so focused on, oh, the shape is wrong and I can't move on.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, I can totally relate. Yeah, you do stuff with a pen, and it's like once it's done, it's done. So you better like
yeah.
it. That's super cool. So, so what was it that inspired you to take the leap from like a traditional to digital art? Like when did you jump in, or why did you jump in?
Well, I got my first digital tablet. It was Black Friday in November 2006.
Oh wow, okay, cool.
I have a thing for dates.
And it's cool that you remember it too.
But it was a Wacom Graphire 4, and the reason that I jumped into it was because one of my online buddies had recently gotten a tablet herself.
Cool.
And I loved the ability to be able to pick any color you wanted, be able to erase without ruining your piece of paper or whatever that you're working on. That was spectacular to me.
Mm.
I was like, "Oh my god, you can get rid of all the mistakes and there's no like marks that are left on the paper. You're not erasing the paper away. Oh, I need this."
Oh,
So
it gives you that ability to try stuff out too, right?
yes, yes, and
Like
you're not wasting material.
seriously, yeah,
It
that's
saves so much money. Like the initial purchase is like a little pricey,
right,
but
right.
afterwards
For a good
it
one,
pays for
yeah,
itself.
yeah. Of course,
So
that's awesome. So you sort of answered the question a little bit, but so you do
oh,
work with other.
sorry.
No, no, no. The next question,
Oh, okay.
that was exactly what I was looking for. So that was your inspiration. You jumped in because Black Friday sales. Why not?
Yeah, Black Friday sales, and my friend had all this stuff, and I'm like,
Right.
I want it too.
Yeah, let's try it
So,
out. That's cool. And so the question I was leading into is you sort of said you did other mediums, and I'm just
hmm
curious what they were, and again, if you do still work in them, like do you have a favorite outside of digital?
um, outside of digital, I would say my favorite is probably acrylics
Cool.
because I genuinely enjoy painting. I just don't do it a lot because again, the materials are pretty
Hmm.
expensive.
Yeah, totally.
Um, but I like the general control, I guess, with acrylics because they dry quickly
Hmm.
and you can mix them pretty easily, and you can actually get rid of the acrylics if you make a mistake.
Yeah,
So,
water
whereas with
based.
oils, it's a little more complicated than that.
Indeed.
Sketching is, I guess, always going to be my first love, though, because, pencil and paper.
Yep.
It's what you start with.
I hear
So,
you. That's awesome.
but
So when
I
you
did.
do acrylic, are you working on a canvas or like Bristol board or like
Um,
what's your
Typically, it's canvas board, just
cool?
because like a wrapped canvas is more expensive than just the canvas board or
Sure,
the Bristol board or
sure,
whatever.
sure.
So,
That makes sense.
yeah.
Awesome.
I try to be frugal.
We got to do it. I mean,
Yeah.
I totally relate.
I would love to work with wrapped canvas though because it's totally different feel.
Sure. Fantastic. Um, so were you always a quote fantasy girl, or did you get drawn into that later in life? Like,
Well, I mean, so my embarrassing past as an artist is that I originally started drawing humanoids, like legit humanoids, not like little kid, this is mom and dad in the family. But I started drawing mostly like Dragon Ball Z fan art
sweet.
and Sailor Moon fan art.
Your Sailor
Delved
Moon's
into.
pretty dope.
Oh, thank
I
you.
mean, hey, I'm gonna switch while you can. Let's continue
Yeah.
talking, but I'm gonna show the
Um,
folks here a little bit of your art station work here. So let
but
me
yeah, I started
jump
mostly
into
with
that.
anime, and again DBZ Sailor Moon. Then I delved into Rumiko Takahashi's work, like Inuyasha and Ranma.
Cool.
And then I got into more, I guess, quote unquote realistic anime styles like Cowboy Bebop and the Big O and that kind of thing, where they had closer to Western style faces rather than the like exaggerated eyes and tiny mouths.
Awesome.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah.
I'm a huge anime old time buff too. Again dating myself. I watched Akira in Japanese from a buddy who brought it back on VHS in Japanese from Japan.
Oh man.
So Akira, which is, I mean, Akira is like one of the most popular, amazing. I mean, it blew
I've never
everybody's
seen
mind.
it.
It's oh my goodness. You have to, as an art, but you're familiar with it. At least you know of it.
I've heard of it, absolutely heard of
So
it.
as an artist, you must watch this anime. It was one of
I've
the
been told
first that just like it was so clean, the movements and the motion. It was from Saturday morning cartoons like
Yeah.
Hanna-Barbera and even like GI Joe and the Transformers and all this kind of stuff, Scooby-Doo or whatever,
Hmm.
to Akira, it was like light speed. It was so far ahead. And
Yeah.
then now to see where we're at with like Ruby or some of these other like what they did with the Avatar series and this kind of
Oh
thing.
yeah.
That's an interesting question. Is all of your art static? Do you do any like animation
Um,
stuff?
I have done animation stuff. Doing animations with like full blown drawings is a lot more complicated, but I've done animated like little emotes,
Cool,
emoticons, that kind of
cool,
thing.
cool.
Um, so I do know and understand the basics of animation. I just don't have the patience for it.
Well, and it's in a lot of ways it's a very different. Let's call it a medium. It's a different
Hmm.
medium than just doing an image.
Yeah. It takes a lot more time and patience and a lot of attention to detail that I don't think I could dedicate myself to.
Fascinating. Self awareness is important.
Yeah.
So so Dragon Ball Z was sort of your lead into like fantasy and other stuff.
I would say the lead into fantasy was probably because I had a friend who liked to draw elves, and
Nice.
after Lord of the Rings came out, I was obsessed.
Nice.
I loved the elves, and I loved the I want to call them halflings. Oh my goodness, the hobbits. Jesus.
Oh yeah, sure. Well, that's functionally what they are. So
Yeah,
Tolkien
they're the
called them
same thing.
hobbits. In D and
Yeah,
D, we call them halflings. They're basically the same.
yeah. Just the whole aesthetic of Lord of the Rings. I was like,
Yeah,
oh, that's my jam.
yeah, yeah.
um,
Especially what they did at Weta Works and all that with like they were the attention, like you just mentioned, the attention to detail of the styling that
mhm,
they did was phenomenal. I mean the artistic direction on that was absolutely incredible.
it was. I think what I mostly fell in love with was the elaborate costumes
Hmm. Cool.
because the costume work itself was just you could see the individual beads in some of the more higher def stuff, and I'm just like, oh, it's so pretty.
Nice.
So,
So
but I
how
think I've always been drawn to like fantastical type stuff, like
cool.
the supernatural, if you want to call it that,
Cool.
but like fairies and that kind of thing.
Awesome. So how about D&D? When did that come into the realm?
Uh, my very first game of D&D, I was it was like the winter right before I turned 19, and I went to my friend's house, and his dad was DMing us, and it was like me and four other dudes just sitting at this table, and I'm like, so we roll dice and pretend. That's what we do. I'm down for this.
Yeah. Awesome.
Um, but I think the lead in for me for D&D was more I was playing World of Warcraft at the time as well.
Mm,
So for
sure.
me, the classes were very similar. You had the rogue, you had the
Totally.
paladin, you had the warrior
Mhm.
or fighter.
Mhm.
So I was like, so I get to just like actually do a different adventure than the same run of the mill stuff that you do in World of Warcraft.
Cool.
And then I got really heavy into it after I got married and moved up here with my husband
Cool.
because he DM'd my first actual full campaign.
That's awesome. I was going to ask if he plays. That's great.
Yes. He has played since second edition, I think. He actually has the second
Actually,
edition books.
I played before second edition to be
Yeah.
completely, but that's the second edition is awesome. So he's old school. That I
Oh
like
yeah,
that.
he's old school. But he does really like 5e.
Yeah, 5e is phenomenal. Most people that I know that started way back
Hmm.
that that sort of played anything 2E or earlier,
Hmm.
like me. So yeah, I've been playing for over 30 years. I've mentioned it in my D&D daily videos, but like yeah, I was 10 when I saw the advertise TSR ads on TV are why I played D&D, one of the reasons I played D&D, and the cartoon.
So you're
So
like the kids from Stranger
oh
Things.
my god, that was me. That was me and my friends for real, no joke. Like,
Hmm.
and then it was even worse when I was in high school.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyway, so I started with the red box, the original, very very old red box, then advanced and
Hmm.
second edition. And so what I found is people like me that are in your husband obviously that started with that stuff love fifth edition because it took the best parts of what a role playing game I think is all about
Mm-hmm.
and sort of skipped over the hugely technical elements of third edition or
Oh,
3.5
3.5
and 4E,
Pathfinder.
right? So,
Oh.
and a lot of people love that. I actually loved it and never got to play because I didn't know anyone that was into it, and my friends were like, "No, too much. We don't want that." So, yeah. So now in 5E, I think it's just really it's like it's come into its maturity, and
Yeah.
with the internet and things like this, where we get to meet each other and share and play online, like you and I with Roll20 and or
Mm-hmm.
Skype or what Discord, whatever you're doing. I mean, it's opened this whole new world for all of us,
Yeah.
and at the same time, I, 10, 20 years ago, I never would have imagined getting art for one of my characters. I would
Yeah.
have drawn it myself. But to find someone like you who is an amazing artist and say, oh,
Thank you.
would you please draw my character for me? It's like, I'm so happy for you and others that are in this moment now where it's like, wow, this is a real thing. And yeah, you can sort of, even if it's like for you where it's a hobby and sort of this side, like, a little extra cash here and there.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe who knows that's going to turn into in the next 5 or 10 years. We can't see yet, but I can imagine it's amazing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that's half the joy of like doing the commissions for D&D characters is that you get to not only bring their character to life, but you get to see how they react to seeing their character, which
Yeah.
is so like it warms my heart to be honest to be able to see somebody go, "Oh my god, that's what I was looking for. Now I know what my character looks like."
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
it's just a real good feeling.
One of the things that I really love about your style,
Mhm.
it caught me when I was looking through everything again last night just to, get ready for this interview. You have a really delicate line style. Like
Oh,
everything,
thank
I'm
you.
looking at your character, your images, and these beautiful. Again, I think I'm gonna take this moment and like share some of this with everyone here because you have a really delicate line art to your images. It carries. How do I want to say it? It carries this amazing like emotional quality.
Oh.
Um, and to be a little more clear about what I'm saying is like when I'm looking at your pieces, I'm drawn to the the emotion and the motion in the image, and that is because the colors pop, the
Mhm.
shading is phenomenal. So you're giving this incredible depth to them, and where I've seen other artists that I love myself have a real heavy, thick, like the lines are like bold and like
Mhm.
pop. The lines pop. For me, when I'm looking at your pieces, I wouldn't say the lines pop at all. What I think what pops more is like the look you get in the eyes of your characters
Ah,
and
yeah.
the softness and the delicateness of their features. And not to say that delicate in the sense of weak, I mean delicate in almost more like a refined quality,
Ah. Okay.
as to
Yeah.
say like there's power in the pictures, like
Yeah.
they're potent and cool, like look at like your McCree or something, or you call it Desert
Oh.
Eagle, whatever.
Yeah.
There's power in the imagery, or your Forsaken Queen, right? This is
Oh, that's one of my favorites.
it's awesome. It's
um,
awesome, and yet at the same time, it's potent and it's so. To me, this is my opinion. This is my opinion. It's so delicate at the same time, and that really stood out in my opinion.
yeah, Matt, the last guy that you interviewed, he always yells at me to make my lines thicker because he's like,
That's
"Draw
his
thicker
style.
lines. You should
Yeah,
try making it thicker."
that's
I'm
his
like,
style.
okay.
Yeah.
I recently did try to start getting into more like comic book shading with
Cool.
like the thicker lines and blocking in some like just like dark parts. Um,
Cool.
but it's it's something that I have to make myself do. It's not something that comes naturally. I'm
Mm.
not sure why my lines have always been so light and I guess flowy, but it's what works for me.
Yeah, and I love it sincerely. The lines kind of disappear. The Dark Queen is, or excuse me, the Forsaken Queen is really amazing.
I tend to like my revamped version of her though, with
Oh,
the
you did? I didn't know there was
Battle
a
for Azeroth.
revamped.
Yeah, I think I posted her twice.
Oh, I Sylvanas Windrunner.
Yeah,
I see. I wasn't even looking at that one. The Forsaken Queen caught my
yeah.
attention.
The Forsaken Queen is from
Very cool.
2015, I think.
Awesome.
So
Quite an evolution, huh?
yeah, yeah. My art has definitely grown since then.
There's a whole lot more depth to this Sylvanas Windrunner. I can see that.
Yeah.
The shading is unbelievable. Very it no, sincerely, it's really natural. And that's incredible. I mean,
I
that takes a lot of skill.
So, as far as lighting and color are concerned, I actually did get a little bit of training from my aunt when I was a kid. She is has been an art teacher for as long as I can remember, and she hosted a weekend art class, I guess, for kids that were in like middle school. So I got to go with her, and she was actually quite impressed with the fact that I caught, because we had to do drawings of eggs. She was impressed with the fact that I caught the light reflection on the bottom of the egg
Nice.
off of the paper. And I was like,
Nice.
oh, sweet. So I've never forgotten how to do lighting in that aspect.
Sweet. And it really reads in your images. Sweet. Okay, so let me ask some other questions. Along those lines, you have you have a pretty broad, it seems, color palette. And
Yes.
you said a little earlier, like that was one of the things that drew you to the digital art, is that like, oh my god, I can pick any color I want.
Yeah.
do, do you find that you have a favorite color palette, or does it
Uh,
shift from piece to piece?
I think it shifts from piece to piece, but I really do seem to like more natural tones with a pop of some kind of bright color to go with it.
Nice.
Um, so like if I'm doing say a druid character,
Mm-hmm.
I like to go with more browns and some greens and then maybe a pop of like red or blue or something like that to just like give it a little more life than, the camouflage of blending into the forest.
Mm. Do you, when you're working on a piece, do you sort of, how do I want to say it? Uh, do you create like a color palette and then
Nope.
work from that? No, okay. So
Nope.
you sort of like go with the flow and like see what
Yeah.
works and try different. That's cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, no, I pick out a color and if I don't like it, I just change it.
Nice, nice. I like that. That's amazing. So, what do you?
It'd probably be smarter to actually have a palette.
Yeah. No, I mean, it works for you. Obviously, your stuff is
Yeah.
incredible. So, you got to go with what works, right?
Right.
Do you find that do you feel like you focus mostly on one thing, like mostly full bodies, or mostly this, or mostly
Um,
action poses, or
I'd say that I do more. I would like concept stances, so not like T pose, but
mm,
just kind of like standing there holding your stuff, just so I can get a basic idea of what the character is wearing, what they look like, how they present themselves. But as far as like portraits versus full body, I think it's a pretty even mix for me.
cool.
Um,
Your
I
portrait of
do.
Marisha Ray is incredible.
Oh, yeah, I was really proud of that one.
Yeah, I mean, it's very amazing.
I just took one of her photos from IMDb and I was like, I'm gonna paint this now. It was
Nice.
for the Marisha Appreciation Day a couple years ago.
Cool.
So
Well done. Um, so okay, so we've talked sort of around that this next question, and you did mention a couple, but I want to go back to it. So who are like some of your favorite artists? Where did you like that? Especially, so I'm gonna ask this in two parts and let you answer it in two
mhm.
parts. So one is just that basic, like, who are your favorite artists, and then two is like, who are the artists that like you aspire, like you see yourself as sort of, I don't want to say mimicking, but like but mirroring or like drawing, like, oh, I love that
Whose techniques
style.
do I
Yeah,
steal?
who's
That's what you're
that's
asking for.
I
Yeah.
don't want to say steal, but like that's,
All
we all
artists steal, and if they tell you otherwise, they're
fair.
not being
I'll
honest.
give you that for sure. So those are two questions. Who do you just love? Like, oh my god, this is amazing art. But then also, who do you love that you sort of take inspiration from?
Right. Well, I mean, I've got a list of favorite artists because I did my homework.
Nice.
But I can tell you that like I love comic artists and I love fantasy artists and anything in between. So some names that people would know would be like Jeff Loeb, Jim Lee. I
Jim
know
Lee,
that
as in
people.
like the comic book artist Jim Lee.
Yes. Yeah.
Whoa, I got to meet him. He's a pretty amazing guy. I was like at a signing, like not meet him, like like have sit down with him, but super cool dude. Really nice
Yeah.
guy.
Um,
Love his art
but
too.
I
Oh my
also
god.
love like Noah Bradley. I believe
I
he's
don't
a
know
Magic
him.
the Gathering artist as well.
Oh, cool.
But he might not be, but I'm pretty sure he is. But he does a lot of landscapes, and oh my god, they're gorgeous.
Nice.
Um, Jen Bartel, Irene Coe, Zurcher is also one of my favorite artists. I love like looking at his work and just going, "Oh, that line work."
Now I have a lot of
Um,
homework to do because you're naming names that I am absolutely not familiar with. So I have lots to look into, which is cool.
but as far as like people that I basically steal aesthetic and techniques from, I would say like Meg Simmons, Megzilla. I'm sure
Oh,
that you know who
sure.
she is.
Makes
Uh,
yes.
Joma, obviously Joma Cuerto. I do
See,
steal
these
from
are
that
two
as
people
well.
I'm hoping we can maybe get on this someday.
Yeah, yeah. But
Cool.
there's also like there's Charlie Bowater. I think she does really good work for the Imagine FX magazine.
I'm not familiar with her.
Like
I'll have to check it out.
yeah, it's a big art magazine.
Cool.
Let's see, there's Marissa Louise. She's also a critter who does some really fantastic comic work. DJ Kirkland. He is Hey, it's DJ on Twitter.
Okay, cool. And for anyone that
Um,
doesn't know, a critter is someone who watches Critical Role, the D&D
yes,
live play
sorry.
game. I'm a critter, we are, so we share that for
Yes.
sure. So, and many of the people that are going to watch this will probably also be critters, but just in case you're not familiar with it, critters refers
Yeah.
to those people, not this cheesy old 80s or 90s movies. It's the
No.
critters, the modern version of critters is anyone who watches Critical Role and is a fan of the show.
Right.
Anyway.
And then one person that I actually do tend to look at their art and kind of go, "This is kind of my goal," would be I'm gonna butcher it, I know it, but Stepan Seiji, who does the Sunstone comic.
Okay.
Um, Sunstone is a little bit of a racy comic, but
Okay.
it's the work itself and the work that he does is really fantastic.
Cool. I have a huge list now to go check out. I can't wait. This is exciting. I love finding out, like,
Oh, I
being
have more on the
introduced to
list. I
new.
just, kind of was like, I don't want to take up all the time with these people.
That's awesome, though. So those are the few that influence you the most, though, right now. Anyway.
Yeah, I would say so. There's a
Awesome.
lot of influence on Twitter for me.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I mean, it's incredible. I mean, think about it. Again, 15 years ago, we had to go to a gallery. Or maybe if we're lucky in a magazine or TV show, maybe we would get
mhm.
exposed to different artists. And that's, again, with today, technology is so incredible. I mean, with Patreon and with all the social media now, so many of us are getting the opportunity to express ourselves. And not only that, to be recognized and seen and get exposure. It's epic. I'm so
Right.
excited, you know?
Yeah, it's definitely good for social networking for sure. I
Have you
know that there's
submitted
a
anything to Critical Role?
I did. I was actually on the art thing quite a few times back during the first campaign.
Sweet.
So,
That's awesome.
one of my first pieces was of the twins in the tavern, and I know that Vex was drinking from like a tankard or whatever, and
Nice.
Vax was helping her drink it, and Liam seemed to really enjoy that piece.
Nice. Excellent.
So
That must feel good. I can imagine.
yeah, yeah, it was really good when I got to see my stuff, and I'm like, whoa. So
that's epic. So we've sort of said it, but I just want to one more time touch base on that. Is where can people find you?
Pretty much anywhere on the internet you can find me under the username banjelerp. Um, because it's become my brand now at this point.
Awesome.
I don't imagine that name's going to change at any time soon.
Okay.
So,
So I have a couple questions connected with that.
uh huh.
Banjelerp?
Yeah, yeah, I saw that one coming. So the story behind banjelerp. One of my friends a long time ago, typoed my name, I think, on her phone. Like she tried to type the name Angie and it came out as Banjo, and that just kind of stuck
Nice.
for a while. I was like, all right, yeah, sure, I can go by Banjo, that's fine. And then one of my friends was like, that's not derpy enough. We have to add something to it. And then it became Banjeler.
That's awesome.
So,
I,
yeah,
I
and
love
then it just
origin
stuck.
stories. It works. It's cool.
You'd be
Super,
surprised how
super unique.
often I get asked that.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
So now the follow up to that, and I'm gonna actually do something here very quickly, and that is switch over to another one of your pages, which is let's see, I did your art station, but then you are also on Periscope, PSCP, right? That's Periscope, I think it was.
Yeah,
But
sometimes I'm on Periscope,
yeah,
but
this was a while back, but it caught my attention because what a bagel? Where does
oh,
that come in?
all right, so somebody else in one of my Twitch streams typoed banjolerp as bagel derp.
All right.
And then Joma took hold of that and was like, no, that is your name from now on, Bagel Derp. And I'm just like, oh,
Oh my
God,
goodness.
no.
See,
So,
okay, and I had seen reference to it on one other occasion too, so I'm like, so what the heck does bagel have to do with anything? I don't get it.
yeah, you can thank Joma for making that one
Right.
stick.
Typos,
Uh,
right? I mean, we all get in trouble with them.
yeah.
It's like autocorrect, right? I mean, how many
Yeah.
times do you get like, oh God, what did I just say?
Yeah.
What did I just type?
Autocorrect will be the bane of my existence.
Seriously, for all of us, I'm sure.
Yeah.
All right, fantastic. So now I'm also going to direct people, I guess, to your Wix. Wait, am I saying this right?
Oh, my
Your
Wix
webpage.
website.
Yeah, your Wix site.
Yeah. I do have some prints left over from the last expo that I was at, and you can find all of my prints that are available there. But you'll have to email me if you have any interest in them because I can't do any of the sales through Wix for whatever reason. It's some complicated mumbo jumbo.
That is
But
cool.
yeah, I'm more than willing to mail out prints to people if they would like to buy them.
I love your Wonder Woman, by
Well,
the
thank
way.
you.
Yeah. I have a very soft spot in my heart for powerful women. So,
Mm,
and Wonder Woman, of course, it's just the whole persona is amazing.
mm-hmm.
Do you watch or listen to Dice Camera Action at all?
I don't,
Okay, that's okay.
unfortunately.
No, totally fine. And not everyone does. It's like there's so much stuff out there to get exposed to. It's
Oh,
just like
I'm terrible with media consumption. I
no,
don't do it.
Critical Role is like more than most people can handle because they're 4 hour episodes. Like
Yeah.
that's like watching like 4 weeks of a sitcom. You know what I mean? In one week.
Yes.
So anyway, DCA. The only reason I mention it is Anna Prosser Robinson, who plays one of the characters on there. Her character essentially has this thing. Her shield is bracers, a la
Nice.
Wonder Woman. So yeah,
I
just
love
super
that.
cool. It's that imagery is so neat, and man, I love the armor that you did for her because it's I'm not sure if it was intended to, but it certainly to me is very reminiscent of the movie that they did with
Yeah.
her, and it
That's what it was supposed to be.
great, awesome, well done. Yeah,
Yeah.
it
But I wanted to kind of mix the comic version and the movie
nice.
version together. So like if you get a chance to look in real close on that piece, you can actually see that her eye is actually part blue, part brown.
Oh,
Because I was like,
cool,
yeah, I'll just, do something special and silly.
cool.
So
You have another was it a bite? What's it called? When one eye is different than the other. I noticed that in one of your other
oh,
images.
heterochromia.
Heterochromia. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a piece for a friend of mine because she wanted some art for our D&D game. So I was like, sure, I'll just do
Cool.
some portrait art for you.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So we've talked about it, and I'm gonna ask directly, uh, because who knows right now? I'm assuming are you available for commissions?
I am. I'm
Sweet.
currently open for commissions.
Awesome.
My information is all on my Twitter page.
Right.
I'm pretty sure it's pinned to the top. If it's not, I'm gonna make that sure.
Sweet. I think it was, if I remember
I'm
right.
pretty sure it is. I
Yeah.
do have my information in my bio on Twitter,
Cool.
so
Cool, cool, cool. Yeah. And people can always just send you a message, I'm sure.
yeah, people can send me a message or send me an
For that
email.
matter, they could send me a message and then I will get in touch with you too.
I don't know. I might have to try, like,
Whatever
be.
it takes.
I might have to pay you a finder's fee if that's what it takes.
No, no, absolutely not. Wouldn't accept it. Um, so, sort of one last question, I guess, unless there's anything else you think maybe you want to share that comes to mind.
No, go
There's
ahead.
so I guess this is also sort of a two-part question. So what's your big dream for your art and your artistry, and then along with that, like where would you like to see your art go in the future over the next several years or the rest of your life, whatever.
Um, I think I'd like to see my art go more in a painterly slash realistic direction because I'm kind of there, but I struggle getting rid of the line art, and I'd like to move past lined work and into more painted work.
Awesome.
But as
So
far as
may I ask? So you're saying to use the digital tool set and the brushes in a sense to make the art look more naturally, like actually brushed, painted.
uh basically, like I said, there was the Charlie Bowater. She does a lot of lineless work, and it
Mm.
looks like it's actually painted, but you can tell that it's digitally made.
Okay.
But it's I think it looks really sharp, and I personally really like that look.
Awesome.
Um, as far as my big dream, I don't really think I have a big dream. I guess maybe doing my own comic at some point would be really cool because that's where I started.
Awesome.
But for the most part, I just enjoy doing what I do at the moment.
Excellent. Sweet. That was a pretty good answer. I think you sort of answered them in reverse order,
Yeah.
but that's okay. That was a beautiful answer and gave me a good idea too.
Oh,
Sweet.
okay.
Yeah, I mean it's I think it's fascinating to so again, someone like Jim Lee, that's a perfect example. It's like when you see an artist and how they develop over time. Rob
hmm
Liefeld is an. I mean, we keep talking about comic books, but he's another one that came to mind. Like I remember when Rob Liefeld like first hit the scene in the comic book community because that was when I start was actually collecting comic books,
hmm
and his and even just in like a year or two, his style shifted dramatically and like improved so much so fast. And so it's great to I enjoyed looking at some of the pieces of yours that were more towards the beginning of what you were posting as opposed to like what you're doing now, and it's like wow,
Oh
it's
yeah, just in 2 3 years, the difference has been pretty substantial.
awesome.
But if you take a look at some of my older work, it's like, whew.
Well, hopefully your stuff keeps
So
getting better and better, and hopefully you will get more and more commissions. I would love to see you so overwhelmed with commissions you have to say, "Wait, I can't do anymore."
I've been there.
Oh,
It's
cool.
it's nice, but it's also like,
Yeah,
so.
yeah, right on. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you, Angie. Give me a moment here to say thank you to the audience, so to speak, and wrap things up. I had a wonderful time chatting with you. You are a fascinating person, as well as an incredible artist,
Well, thank
and
you.
so I just want to say thank you for spending a few minutes here with me and answering my silly questions. Stay tuned for more of What's Your Story, and by all means go check out banjelerp and all of her amazing art. Thank you, and I'll see you on the next What's Your Story?